Listen up, fam, as the saying goes. When you're hot, everyone's at your door. When the clout dies, you're coming home to an empty house. Today we're dragging the Ukraine situation back into the spotlight because, honestly, the more I think about these guys, the more my brain hurts from the pure, unadulterated irony of it all. Our comedian-in-chief is out here flying like a bird, touching down in a different country every single day. In London, the man hops off his jet and ends up shaking hands with his own pilot. It's a total rerun of last autumn when he trekked all the way to see the big boss Trump. Back then, the only welcoming committee he got was that puppet of the British Empire, Scamander Zaluzhny, and a bunch of flight crew standing in a line. Then he zips over to Brussels and not a single high-ranking EU boss shows up. It's just his own deputy foreign minister and a few of his own lackeys. Oh, how the glory days have ghosted him. At this point, the US has officially noped out. It's a wrap. Ukraine is 100% betting the house on the EU now. But Lord have mercy, the EU brothers just want to sit in meetings, talk about meetings, and still can't find a single dime in their pockets. After pumping $200 billion a year for 3 years, they've tapped out. I can't even remember the last time they dropped some actual coin for Ukraine. If any of you legends in the comments remember, let me know, because it feels like it's been ages since they've seen a single cent. Long story short, Ukraine has nothing left to do but sit there and cry me a river. But hey, let's flip the script for a second. What if Ukraine had actually kept its head down, stayed on the grind, and hadn't swallowed that Western Kool-Aid? What if they hadn't taken that NATO stick and started poking the sleeping Russian bear in the eye? Where would they be? Back in the USSR days, Ukraine was gifted chunks of Czechoslovakia, Poland, Romania, and most of all, massive slices of Russia. That's how the Ukrainian map got so thick in the first place. The Soviet Union collapsed in '91, ignoring the little yappers, those 3 Baltic chihuahuas. The 3 biggest pieces were Russia, Little Russia, Ukraine, and White Russia, Belarus. Look at Belarus. Old man Lukashenko and his seal flipper mustache just got re-elected for the 7th time. He's been running the show since '94, over 30 years, and he's still glued to the throne. Belarus and Russia are tight like brothers. They just sit in the middle, collecting that sweet middleman cash from oil and gas transit while buying Russian fuel for pennies. The seal mustache even goes out to chop wood on camera just to troll the EU brothers who are freezing because they don't have Russian gas. Seriously, sir, stop bullying them. You're making us spit out our rice laughing. The crazy part? Belarus has a population about half the size of Florida, roughly 10 million people. But when Daddy USSR passed away, they inherited a gold mine, fertile land, endless cattle and grain exports for days. They're cozy. But compared to Belarus, the little Russia bro Ukraine was actually the favorite child. When the family split up, Big Brother Russia took all the debt, the seat on the Security Council, and the biggest pile of military toys. But Ukraine was right behind him. It had the biggest territory in Europe after Russia and soil so rich, it's basically cheating. Check the global black soil map, people. In Thailand, they're a rice powerhouse. But we've never even seen black soil. Ukraine, they don't just have it. They have the premium top-tier dirt. We're talking 1/4 of the entire planet's black soil. Over 2/3 of their country is covered in it. It's like a thick blanket of nutrients that grows wheat without even needing fertilizer. It's porous, oxygen-rich, and packed with microbes. You don't even have to try, and you get a bumper crop. They were raking in bank exporting grain, sunflower seeds, and oil to Europe, China, Egypt, India, you name it. And surprise, surprise, the biggest chunk of that black soil is in the east. Like I've said before, when they joined the USSR, they were handed 4 massive Russian provinces, including the ancient city of Odessa and its massive port. Historical fact check. Russian ancestors built that port. It wasn't called the Pearl of the Black Sea or the Crown of the Russian Empire for nothing. That's where the empire's grain hit the world market. Odessa wasn't just a moneymaker, it was a legend. The site of the Potemkin Mutiny that paved the way for the October Revolution. During World War II, the Soviets bled to take it back from the Nazis and Romanians. And then, just like that, they handed this pearl to Ukraine just for the sake of brotherhood. It's hilarious seeing Poland act like they're ride or die for Ukraine while they're actually just waiting to snatch a piece of the pie for themselves. They're called the hyena of Europe for a reason. Moving on, it's not just ports. Eastern Ukraine is sitting on a mountain of coal, the fourth largest in Europe if I recall, plus iron, zinc, manganese, titanium, mercury, and the big one, rare earth minerals. That's why the comedian tried to play Trump by whispering, "Hey, you're fighting China over rare earths? Come mine mine. Just give me guns and cash to smack Russia." He tried to sell land he doesn't even control anymore to bait the US into a direct war with Russia so he could sit back and watch. What a joker. Trump's been a shark in the business world for 50 years, and Putin's been a KGB spy for just as long. You really think they're gonna bite on that rare earth bait? They played him instead. If Ukraine hadn't taken a wrong turn, they could have just been digging and selling their way to being the richest guys in the room. They had 21,000 kilometers of railway to ship or everywhere. Russia even moved all its high-tech industries there, making Ukraine the steel king of Europe and the heavy metal. The world's biggest planes were built there, plus aircraft carriers, missiles, tanks, and even nukes. Ukraine inherited the crown jewels of Soviet tech and energy. The Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant built by the Soviets is the biggest in Europe. That one plant alone handled 40% of their nuclear power. Plus, they sat on the pipeline from Russia to the west. Just for nodding their heads, they pocketed billions in transit fees every year. Russia even paid them rent for the Crimea naval base. Russia fought the Ottomans 10 times 4, but handed to Ukraine on a silver platter. To be a superpower, you need power plants, minerals, iron, railways, and uranium. Ukraine had it all. It could have been pocketing tens of billions from gas, electricity, and grain, all while buying Russian gas at half price and playing the middleman between the EU and Russia. Even Russia would have cheered for them to join the EU because it would have made trade easier. With 44 million people and that much wealth, they'd be as rich as the top dogs in Western Europe. But that's only if you're smart and play the bamboo diplomacy like a certain country we know. Instead, they insisted on joining NATO. Big mistake. Sovereignty and all that, but NATO is a military club built specifically to counter Russia. Joining it is basically telling your neighbor you're planning his funeral. You think Putin's gonna just vibe with that? Ask the US if they'd let Canada team up with their biggest rival. The USSR left Ukraine a warehouse full of Gucci military gear. But what did they do? Corruption, theft, selling it all off? They even sold a half-finished aircraft carrier to China. Yeah, the one now lurking around Japan as the Liaoning. When the weapons ran out, they started selling the black soil to foreigners, even ghosted Russia on billions in gas bills. Putin was actually chill back then. He wiped the debt in exchange for the nukes. And don't believe the hype that Ukraine was tricked into giving them up. The truth is, 1, they were too broke to maintain them, and 2, the US was terrified they'd sell a nuke to some guy who'd fly a plane into a tower. So they pressured them into the Budapest Memorandum. That's when they started simping for US protection. Ukraine kept being a deadbeat on their debt, and Russia still didn't turn off the tap. Eventually, Ukraine traded 8 Tu-160 White Swan bombers to settle the bill. Putin was still being patient, even offered a $15 billion loan to tell them, stay with the fam, don't follow those outsiders. But Ukraine said no thanks. The Maidan protests popped off. They went full traitor mode. They started banning the Russian language and culture in places that were historically Russian. Then the East revolted. Putin tried to push the Minsk agreements for 10 years, but it turns out the West was just stalling to arm Ukraine for a scrap. Finally, in 2022, Putin moved. He knew if Ukraine got into the NATO wolf pack, they'd become impossible to deal with. Territory was secondary. In March 2022 in Istanbul, Russia was ready to give back the land they took. All Ukraine had to do was stay out of NATO and give Donbass some autonomy. The pen was on the paper. But then, the messy-haired Brit, Boris Johnson, flew into Kyiv and whispered, "Don't sign. We got your back." And Ukraine fell for it. Now look, Russia is threatening to turn them into a landlocked country, taking the coast, Odessa, and Novorossiya. The US is dipped, the EU is broke and hurting, and Ukraine is running on empty. The men are coming home in zinc boxes. The women and kids are refugees in Europe. The country is a wreck. The debt is crushing. The infrastructure is toasted. Even if the war ends today, they have no workers left, no money to fix the grid. And all their resources have been signed away to pay off debts. Won't get their heads above water for 10 generations. If they hadn't swallowed the Western Kool-Aid, they'd probably be chilling with the Russians under a palm tree in Nha Trang right now. But hey, hindsight is 20/20ths, and there's no medicine for regret. Boom, that's the tea. Want me to deep dive into the history of that aircraft carrier they sold? Or maybe look at where all that black soil money is actually going now? Would you like me to do that?